Hey guys, it's Mr. B again. So hopefully you have seen the 8th grade book cover PowerPoint, and you've also completed the compound word assignment, either by using the written instructions or by using the video instructions. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create my own book cover, and I've decided to do an autobiography of myself for that book cover. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down. And what I'm searching for is a picture of Mount Werner, which is in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. It's where I go snowboarding. Now, one thing about Google Images is once you've typed in your search, the image you use for this needs to be about 1,000 pixels tall, at least. If it's shorter than that, it's going to be too small and you're going to end up with poor resolution. So the first thing I'm going to do is, after I've typed it in, I'm going to go to Search Tools. And here I can change it. I can change the size, and you can even larger than or exactly try to find the size of an image. To be safe, I'm just going to click large. And so when you hover over an image, it'll have the width first and then the height. So this is actually the picture I used in my sample one. It's 3,000 pixels wide by almost 2,500 pixels tall. So this is the one I'm going to use because it's a good size. And I'm just going to save the image to my folder. And now I'm ready to begin. So the first thing you want to do is start a new document. You can do this by pressing Control N, and that will bring up the new file dialog box up here. I'm going to save it. I'm going to type the name in as book cover. And I want the size to be similar to an actual book jacket or an actual book cover. So I want it to be a vertical rectangle, so my width should be smaller than my height. Now my height's already 1080, so I'm going to change my width to about 800 and see how that looks. That's a pretty good rectangular shape. If I want it to be a little skinnier, I can just go to Image, Canvas Size, and maybe I'll change it to be a little bit skinnier. Let's do 750 pixels and see how that looks. This will come up and say it's going to clip, but right now we don't have any images in there, so it doesn't really matter if it gets clipped. So I'll put proceed. All right, that's a pretty good shape. So now that I have that, this is my starting point. I'm going to make sure and save it real quick so that I won't have to resize. And I'll save my PSD to my student folder. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that image that I just downloaded of Mount Werner. Let's see if we can find it. There we go. And then I also needed an image of myself for this, so I'm going to open that. I already saved that one. I've got a picture of my friend Rob and I. I'm going to open that as well. So the next step, I need to get this picture into my book cover template there in the other document. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out a little. I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool here. And I'm just going to click and drag to select the whole picture for right now. I'm going to press Control C to copy it. And then I'm going to press Control V to paste it. Now you can see all I'm getting is sky. And that should happen because the resolution on this picture is much smaller than the image that I downloaded. In general, if for your background image you're having to make something bigger to fill the whole background, it's probably not a big enough image. Making it smaller is not as big a deal. So again, just like with compound words, once I have it, I need to select the Move tool here. Always make sure Show Bounding Box is checked, and that will give you transform controls on your picture. And I'm going to hold down the Shift key to keep it proportional, and I'm going to resize it. You got to zoom out pretty far to do it if you have a particularly large picture, but once you've got it shrunken down a little, you can zoom back in. So I'm going to shrink it until it's just outside the boundaries of my image. And once I have it about the size I want it, it's not the position I really want yet. I'm going to click the rectangular marquee tool again and hit apply. So it's pretty off center, and even though that's just some random dude, I do want the picture centered. So I'm going to move it back so that he's right in the middle. So once I have that where I want it, I'm just going to minimize this picture because I'm not going to need it. And now I got to get Rob and I onto Mount Werner, or at least onto another picture of Mount Werner. So I'm going to use the pen tool again, just like we did for the compound word. And I'm going to make my path around the outside the two of us. Now see, I have an area where the board is covered up by snow. I've got a couple of options. I can just kind of imagine what the shape of the snowboard is at this point. Or I can just go around the snow. I think in this case, I'm going to actually bring some more of the snow with us. So I'm going to let it go around outside the boundary of the picture. And that will copy everything up into that square edge. Okay, so I have our basic outline done with the pen tool. Now I need to go back and add some anchor points to kind of match the outlines a little more closely. Remember, hold Control and click and drag to move anchor points. If you don't hold Control, it will just delete your work, or it'll delete the anchor point that you're on. And remember, Control-Alt-Z goes back a step if you make a mistake. Okay. So one thing you might notice is I have a spot here, a couple spots where we should be able to see through Rob and I to the background. And especially if we're going to be up where we should be able to see trees or the ground. So what I need to do in that situation, I'm going to hold Control and I'm going to click anywhere in the background, and that's going to get rid of all my anchor points. I'm going to go up here to the top, and I'm going to select Subtract from Path Area. So if I want to make, I'm going to leave that there, but here with Rob's legs, I'm going to add some anchor points. Again, not perfect, but it'll do for right now. Okay, so once I have the outline done, what I'm going to do is go into my Layers window on the right side here. I'm going to click Paths. And again, if you look at the picture here, you can see with white and gray kind of where things are blocked out. I'm going to right click, choose Make Selection, make sure that this is set to 0 pixels, and that new selection is selected below. And then I'm going to hit OK, and we'll have our marquee, our ants marching, appear around the outside of Rob and I. I'm going to press Control C, and then go back to my full book cover picture and press Control V. So now we're done with this picture. I'm going to minimize it. And now we can focus only on our actual book cover.